Right, well, should we let it our people?
Tell them to walk in proud.
Hiya.
Hi.
You're very casual there today, Cheryl?
Oh, I changed my shirt there. I was trying to look official. Sorry.
You want me to sign?
Yeah. Oh, no, here you go. I'll go to bed. Oh, wait a minute. Stay.
Right, good morning, welcome. Right, Wally, would you like to start this morning? Yeah, now you can do however you want. You can stand, you can sit. We'll bring over the lectern if you want.
Yes.
What would you like?
I'll stand, thank you.
Okay.
You don't have to read them up.
Yeah, if you're comfortable with that,
It's
while
a
you're talking.
requirement through my workplace that I wear a mask because I'm under back.
Okay, thank you.
If you're okay for me to take it off, I'm happy to.
We're happy.
Yep.
Thank you.
If you have a keeping distance, we're happy with you.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Can I throw some flyers out there?
Hear me?
Please? Yeah.
Okay, so you got 10 minutes, Wally.
Yeah, because this is sort of what I do. I can get you just hand those around, that'd be great. All right, hello everybody. Atamaria, good morning. And to our other guests, kia ora. May I just start with an introduction, please? All right, we all know that COVID's had quite an impact. I'll stick to my notes because of the time. Quite an impact on our people and people's lives. And jobs, more on our kids, more so on our kids. The government is now pouring out millions of dollars. I'll get to my main purpose here, to target truancy. And if you can all see this, is that a lot of our kids have been locked down over the COVID period. Hence the reason why they don't want to go back to school, or they're scared to go to school because of the COVID. Yeah, I've done that. The rest there. You also would have heard the most recent ram rates around the country. Also, I'll get to the main point very shortly. And also recent activities in our community where young people have been arrested through the incidences that took place in our own township. I'm known to work with kids as young as 10 years old, and this I refer to Oranga Tamariki for that purpose because of the age. Our recent event that I've been involved in, we just ran a school holiday program and had 104 kids attended that, which is called the Brokerage School Holiday Program. And I just want to thank the rugby club that offered the facility for us to use for those kids and to run the holiday program out. And thank Cheryl for that. And we also also involved in running a men's versus wild fishing camp for young or all men and young men. And we run that every year. And and all the young men are from around the mid-north and also our own community. The aim of that is to strive to grow strong fathers and, to connect whanaungatanga and also awesome leaders. So kia ora everybody, my name is Wally Tehuia. I'm 14 years working for the New Zealand Police as a youth development worker, based here in Kaikohe. Overall, I've had 33 years helping and mentoring adults and kids who experience life and time problems in New Zealand and in Australia. During these years, I have seen many youth initiatives fail our kids due to the lack of funding or funding used for other purposes. Just for that wrong reason. I have a 5-acre property 7 kilometres out of Kaikohe. I normally used to run before COVID youth programs. I've had 35 kids on my property once, and we ran some youth activities because we're also close to the river and we can utilise that. Where kids build their own raft and then we take them to the river and then they race down the river on that. That's pretty awesome. That was before COVID kicked in. What else? I'm also a role model and a mentor for our kids in our community, which we are very short of. And I know there's a lot of people out there that do a lot of great work, in our community, and I support them 100% when I just engage in some of the activities. So my main purpose here is for, as you could see, I've been in the last 5 years volunteering, cleaning up our community, working with youth offenders through my job. These are kids that are referred to me by our youth aid, which is in our police section. And that's been going on since 2015. And so therefore, I gave the Kaikohe graffiti removal a new name, which is called Wipeout. And as you can see through some of the areas that I've been cleaning in our community is obviously we can see the before and after, so clean up in that respect. So we also are known to go outside our community too as well. I guess Wipeout is I use the vehicle as a way to work with our youth offenders and them engaging with me to do all the graffiti removal, and that's been going on for some time. It also decreases and eliminates our criminal activity that's going on in our community. So the referrals are through our police youth aid. They get a young person that's come through the court, and then they connect with them, and then we use what we call an alternative youth action plan, and that kid for the responsibilities of their criminal activity that I engage them in tidying up. It could be not just graffiti, it could be other work that I can get them involved in. So it's very good in that aspect on our behalf too as well. My support has come from Farmers District Council a few years ago. They used to provide me with paintbrushes, most of the tools that I use for graffiti cleanup, and that's been very helpful, but that has now been parked, and for whatever reason, they may have a change in staff in that particular area. So I would like to connect back with them to see if I can continue on with that support. If I really need resources, Bunnings have been also my support with their old paints, and also our local paint shop if I'm to get paint, because not all businesses come up with the paint themselves, and also involved with the police blue light, which I coordinate, and I utilise that as part of working with our young people. Our account is about keeping our community clean, keeping it tidy, and making the young person responsible for their actions, and that's also completed through whatever we've done and tidied up in our community. And also the young person understands responsibilities with the hope of not reoffending. Great leadership within that young person, so I also mentor that young person. I have a program which I run which is called Toyota. So I use that as an alternative to outreach to that young person. Resources, well, we all know that we need funds to run a project. And I guess for me is to keep this project in operation, which I operate, like I said, voluntarily. And funds, also funds to do the odd camps like the recent kids I had on my property. I need funds to provide for that too as well, but I've been taking that out of my own pocket. Like I said, paintbrushes, trays, ladders, maybe even a small scaffold in this one, because as you can see, some of the pictures are quite high, and I'm very cautious. I don't let the young person go up there. I go up there and actually clean it myself because of the safety of that. Maintenance for the vehicle. I just had the vehicle back on the road, and I have a bill here for $603, which is there is some maintenance to be done on the actual vehicle that I operate, and I would like to, funds to take care of that. And we also got diesel. We got, some COX and general repairs. For the future of this, to my last point, is I guess I want to expand in the mid-north area. I would like to have a contact with the person in the farm or just the council that may be able to keep the vehicle running and to help out our other small communities, because I've just had a report here of graffiti in Okaio that needs cleaning up, and I've been approached for that. I recently helped tidy up the local Kaikohe Community Rugby Club. Done some graffiti in there, and I believe there's some more incidences that took place down in regard to criminal activity, which will be probably spoken about this morning, and how it's going to be repaired. Vehicle upgrade, well, that's a biggie. We've had the vehicle for quite some time, and at the moment, with the maintenance and everything and the repairs that the vehicle needs, I'm thinking that, if there is an opportunity to look at maybe upgrading the vehicle, that'll be extra helpful. And also have a team of men that can run, that I've been approached to run future youth teams for our community. So that's a possibility, programs and activities. So so that's me.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Wally,
There's a lot of work in there.
yeah. Do the members have any questions?
Yeah.
Okay, John.
Yeah, thanks, Wally. You're certainly doing a lot of work there. Looking at the youth, I know there's been a problem with youth in the town. How can we best help you better address the youth issues that you did speak to us on before, to maybe enhance your program, or you listed quite a few things there, but what is your highest priority, is really what I'm saying?
Well, I think more engaging in running youth activity programs, and I know that there's some initiatives with facilities being built and in the future. So I guess to take part in that and also support what's already happening. So I don't want to reinvent the wheel, but I want to support and maybe run some little projects or workshops with, that I can fill the gap with where the others, like the actual holiday programs where we had 102 local kids. Well, that's only on the basis of school holiday programs. So there's a gap in between that, we can actually sort of plan and facilitate. And I've got manpower to actually help with that. But I guess we need to know where we can tap into some fundings, whether it be, say, Dad taking son to fishing, little things like that just pop up. And then we can say, well, where can we get funding for this? So there are resources out there. But I guess, there's also support from from this area of organisation.
Louis.
Yeah, I see you have some budding artists in your community with all the tagging going on. And we had similar problems out in Opanoni until we started painting all the buildings with murals. And a good example is we had these beautiful toilets in Opanoni and a Marbury that were painted by kids in the community as well as some of the adults and things like that.
Yeah.
Council came along and got rid of all the murals, and within days they were being tagged again.
Again,
Louis,
yeah.
you got a question?
Yeah, I was just getting to it. So have you considered sort of challenging these talents into sort of painting murals instead of tagging everything?
Yes, and I also had known to run a workshop, a graffiti workshop, and getting some of our local graffiti artists who now earn money and run that workshop or set up a workshop and get these kids involved.
Yeah.
So I've done that a few years ago, and but I know one of them's in Christchurch, but we can do that. It is possible. I do find out through schools because I work in and out of the schools and find out who these kids are that are doing our graffiti, and then what they don't like is cleaning up their mates or person that they hate, who they know who the graffiti is.
Okay.
But I do get names.
Well, I've got 2 more questions, I think. Well, I've got 3 more questions, and they're going to be all short answers, maybe not short questions, but short answers. So Kelly, then you, Laurie.
If you had to put a dollar figure on this to keep you going for a year, to cover your resources and your vehicle repairs and maintenance, what kind of figure would that look like?
Well, I'd like to look at 5K, but anything above is a bonus. And certainly be utilised for that youth activity program. So, yeah.
Right, Laurie.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, mine's a plea, and that I've already addressed Moko, and I hope you do too. There's $600 million sitting in Wellington, ready to be picked up by Ngāpuhi. Other tribes in New Zealand, powerhouses now, they've been paid out and they're making it work. Why aren't we doing the same? These guys like you and Moko to push from the bottom and tell these fellows to get a settlement, 600 million. Just think what you could do that for your youth, for health and education and everything.
You could have 2 camps today.
I might get a full-time job.
Buckle.
Long as they pay me over 80 grand, I'm happy.
You only got to look at Ngāi to see what they've done with these.
Yeah.
Buckle.
My question was.
Okay, great. Thank you, Wally.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you for listening. You can hang those up on the wall if you want. No, I can.
Almost the council assets. So
Oh, no,
You want these back?
Oh, you can have them.
No, yeah.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
Good.
Thank you.
Right, Lindy and Lou, welcome to our hall.
Can I just first endorse totally what Wally's been doing? I see the sort of relationship he generates with the community and with youth. And Wally, well done. Thank you. In every way. 5K is nothing really for the amazing amount of work he does. And yeah, but we're not here. We're here to represent Kaikohe, and thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. We have spent the last 8 months, I suspect, it's about that, if not more, with Ken at various times. I think it's about 8 meetings or so, in which the community has drafted up their community plan. Now, having been involved in these before, it concerns me in the sense that we write all this beautiful stuff only to see that, where did it go? And interestingly, when we started this process again, Ken was able to pull up what we wrote in 2008. I wouldn't have been able to, but he could. And I thought, oh, so we looked at a few of the things and said, oh, over that period, which is quite a long time, some things been ticked off. But there are some senses that we get nowhere. And I know from a community point of view and the community board point of view, it's sort of like what Kelly was saying, give me a figure, nail it, tell me what you want us to do. Well, I want you to do the whole thing. I'm not kidding. It's only 14 pages, so, get on with it. But no, we were told by Ken to pick some low-hanging fruit. And one of the things that's distressed us for a long time, we've been making appeals in various places, was the idea of some form of traffic calming in the middle of our road through the town. This has turned into a bit of a nightmare in some senses because people will come into the town by the toilet area and do their donut thing because it's big enough, and the burnout zone becomes there, and it's sort of like, what do? All you do is see the evidence, or the residents hear the evidence, and they're not prepared to come outside to say anything or do anything. And then you go up the other end, and you got 2 schools with 600 kids walking out every day and crossing the road. And we wrote a letter, I think it was at first addressed to John Carter, then passed on to Northland Transport Alliance, only to find that we got this, not veiled, it's quite overt, no. And the rationale was that it was a corridor, and we go, every road's a corridor. Get over yourself, come on. Put something there that will protect 600 kids and stop donuts at the other end of town. It's simple. And then I get off the ferry in Rawene and drive up the hill and, oh my God, they've got some in Rawene. Is it a thoroughfare? I know, sorry. But the point is, my argument is, every road, whatever, it's a bloody state highway and it's got speed humps. Well, is that a thoroughfare? And Kaikohe now, sorry, but your ones aren't signposted enough because I watch people hit their brakes really hard in front of that now because there's a little bit of a lead needed so they are calmer before they hit it. But I want them either end of our town. And I wrote this shitty email, sorry for my language, back to the Northern Transport Alliance saying, get real, it's not acceptable. You'll know it's not acceptable. That was one of our low-hanging fruit. Who do I go to now? Huh? That's the point. I don't know who pays for these things, but what I don't want is some kid skittle because someone's doing 100k through our town, which is what happens. And what they meant by thoroughfare is that, yes, we do have stock trucks coming through, but so does Morewa. It's got a freezing works. You can't argue that. I would love to be in front of the Northland Transport Alliance arguing this point because, that's not fair. 600 kids crossing the road. I've watched 5-year-olds, I'm a teacher. I've watched these little kids. They don't even look. They're focused on getting across the road. And I'm scared. It hasn't happened yet. But that's no reason not to do something about it. That's a simple thing. If you can argue with whoever needs to be argued with, on my behalf, make that happen, please. Because both ends of our town are in jeopardy, and we see it too often. Now, I could be sitting in meetings in the community hall to hear that 100k go past, if not more, the scream of it, and you think, who's going to do something about that? You're quite powerless. What you really want is the bottom of their car to be taken out. Sorry, but that's how I perceive this. The other things, what we have in here, you'll see we've got some beautiful words, and Ken, thank you for your time and commitment to us, and I'd like to also endorse our residents who have turned up endlessly to do this. I'm really not so sure where your input lies, because as a community board, are you then the voice of the council for things we want, or are you packaged in your own way about what you're limited to do? I'm really not so sure but if you can, what we need, your asset, not mine, the community hall needs an upgrade in more than one way. We've been asking for that for over 20 years. And the only thing that moved something recently was that some elder person was embarrassed because she was trying to use the disability toilet and could not get back out. That has led to a letter to the council, which has led to Jeanette coming back to us saying, how can we fix this? Why do you have to get to that stage? Like the kid getting run over on the road. Come on, upgrade the hall. It's your hall. Hoki's hall is much nicer than ours. And how low do we have to go before something's done? We've pointed out the kitchen is in dire need, and Blue has a vision of a set of doors on the northern face with a deck, and so that people using the hall aren't playing in the street. which is what you see. And we can have our Christmas parade things orientated to safe zones. It's simple, but traction, not a chance. And what really annoys me, I'm sorry, you're hearing my heart, but the reality is it always seems to be turned back to you guys do it. And that's not what we're here for. We're not being, we're not being paid anything. All we're doing is have a heart about our community. So please, if this can be upgraded to some level that something happens, make it, please. I don't know how to put a figure on it, Kelly, sorry, because the figure could be quite large. I'll show you how we entered into something with Jeanette the other day in relation to the toilets to try and, overcome this issue that we don't have disability toilets and things like that, or even meet anywhere near the health and safety requirements of toilets. Only to find that I talked to Carmel Lewis, who's a resident of our community, and I said, Carmel, can you help us? Because it turned around and said, you design it, you guys. And we go, well, we're not toilet designers. But, so I ring up Carmel, having a conversation. Can she help? What does Carmel say? Yes, Blue, I'll happily draft up something that can go to Jeanette. That's cool. But then we've got to commission architects and all this sort of stuff. That's not our job. It's not our job. But the reality is we don't have a disability toilet. So we have embarrassed people. And that's not fair. I can remember when the Lions rebuilt, and I was part of that, the toilets in Kaikohe, some guy went to the second-hand shop and found a urinal and said, look what I got. That's how it all ended up there. That's how it had to happen back 50 years ago now. So from my point of view, I look at it and say, we haven't made progress. Let's do something better than that. And that's where I'm coming from with this. I think we've done our work. That's the bottom line. This is how many hours? I don't know, you must have built them, I haven't. But the reality is that this took 8 meetings, at least, in which we brought community members together, sat in the cold hall at night and drafted all these words for you. So what I want to see is action. We didn't write them just for fun. And I have been around long enough now to know that that will be the outcome. So, okay, there's a little bit of we've put the toilet, kitchen upgrade and all that in there. We've put the idea of, the council could reduce costs by putting solar panel on halls and stuff like that. But again, as Lindy points out, we've got to pay for batteries so that, because most of the hall usage is at night. That's the kind of, we've got to get those things addressed. But what I'd like you to think about is, we didn't write these words for me to stand here now and say, give me $5,000. It's not how it works. What we did is we wrote this to say, we want this done. That's it. So if it makes sense, help us. I don't know where your power lies. I do know I'm talking to councillors and community board members, and I think that's fabulous. Thank you for your time.
All right, you ready for questions?
Any questions? Yeah, we'll take questions.
Just say thank you for your efforts. Marvelous.
Thanks, Laurie.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Mike, kia ora, thank you very much for your presentation and the passion that you all felt through there. I definitely felt that, and I am definitely with you in there. I wondered if when you were doing this plan together with Ken, you saw that within our long-term plan, there are plans for hall renewals for Kaikohe in the later end of the long-term plan, but from 2028, 29, 29, 30 and 30, 31, there are planned renewals for your hall, and the money that is booked in for there is 412,000 in the year 2028, 444,000 in the year 29, and 3,000 in the year 2030. I don't know if you knew that.
Well, Jeanette alluded to that to us when the complaint over the toilet happened. She said we bring that forward and try and do it. My point is, That's a long way away.
That is a long.
And
It's
from,
at the end of our plan.
if you have a look at
We'll
this,
be
this
doing a new
is,
plan, but
what
trying to get that money.
this is the cycle I've been in. Write another plan, blue, and I go, oh, really? But that, I'm not being facetious or anything. I do appreciate the fact that the long-term plan does have funding listed. What I'm saying is, let's see something happen quite quickly so that we're not in a situation where in, what would that be, 6 to 8 years, the hall is degraded again. It is your hall, not mine. That's the point I make. Yeah, and I know, like we've had these approaches about, you know, the community taking over the hall, but I was the one who sold it to the council for $1 because we could never meet the maintenance costs in a small community, even though and I remember the stipend was $2,000 off the rates to us. I know that doesn't seem like much, but that's how much came as community funding to the hall committee, who then had to maintain this hall. And I thought it was a joke. And in proportion now, it looks like, oh my God, what's $2,000, you know? But that's what it was. And what I want you to think about is your asset, let's maintain it. We've done a wonderful job of looking after it as a committee. Let's do a good job of refurbishing it. That's all I'm asking for, really. So, well, thank you.
John.
Yeah, would you, so correct me if I'm wrong here, so if, imagine this, it may be wishful thinking, but imagine that your community plans are connected directly to the long-term plans. You set the priorities and council, in terms of the work it does, defines what it's going to do as LGP, sets it out from, you know, the first year of that plan all the way through wherever, and its performance in terms of the council is based on the delivery of that portion of the plan in your community as well as all the others.
I like that, I really do, John. I think that's a good way of doing it, because it does feel like I've been blowing hot air into somewhere for a long time, only to find that nothing happens until we get a complaint or something really isn't right. And then all of a sudden, the money can appear and we'll go, this isn't right. And it's a bit like the sort of footpath scenario. And Mike, I'm sorry, but Mike came to us one day and said, look, give me a flagship so that we can say we've done something for a Kaikohe. And we proposed 2 different footpaths and we never got them. We got 2 that we didn't ask for. And we go, huh, where's the planning, you know? And so as a community, I'm sorry, but it's the truth. The one going to the Anglican church, nobody asked that I know of. And then I found out that somewhere in the rules about footpaths is that no longer does community voice matter. I don't know how that works. But the thing is, we then ended up on the one by Ken Rentals, and we didn't ask for that, but I was hoping to get that for the cycleway anyway. But, you know, and yeah, I like that, John. Link it, make it so people can see the progress.
Well, that's the other bit. And the other bit is that council formally reports back annually
on how
through the community board of what's been achieved on that.
And what has happened for a Kaikohe, here's our list. We have speed humps, we have a new toilet, and a kitchen, and we have a sunny deck.
I didn't say you had just the process.
Did I take it too far? Okay.
Now, what we'll do is, I've got one question before we wrap up. Last month do you want one as well? Okay, 2 questions before we wrap up. Last month we had a workshop here, and one of the, we've got a bit of extra money at the end of the year, and one of the projects that we identified was, in fact, the kitchen and toilet for the Kaikohe Hall. Because I think I've spoken to you, Lindy, about you guys engaging an architect who will pay for it. But the staff at the workshop said, no, we'll go out and we'll talk to these people and we'll do the engagement. So my question is did they ever turn up?
Yes, Jeanette came. I mentioned it.
It wasn't Jeanette. I mean, Jeanette was obviously in response to your
the
complaint.
Yeah.
In that case, it would be a no. I haven't had any other contact other than Jeanette about toilets, kitchen.
And I do appreciate that people are starting to see it as something that could be done.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that, you know, if I wasn't in a position to be standing here right now, nobody would really listen.
Well, I mean, I think you could probably count the 7 members around here, and they would all give you the same frustrating stories.
No, I'm not denying, and I know every community has its demands. I'm fronting for this community. If I lived in another, I'd front for that. My point is, I'm happy to to look at what we should do in the future. And Wally's work in relation to helping to clean up, I totally agree with, because I've seen the work he's done. We did institute with Harry Hudson some long time ago, when I asked him to start painting out any graffiti in Kaikohe, and he had to go for a morning walk every day because he needed to medically, and it was so good. We gave him a pot of paint, and he ended up picking all the rubbish up as well, but it made a hell of a difference.
Yeah, right, lovely story. One more question, we have to wrap up.
Okay, so, yeah, like, I don't know who you talked to in Northern Traffic Alliance, but a lady called Elizabeth Staples is very.
That's
not
not the
the
name,
person.
but that was on the letter we got.
Yeah, and you can have a quick look at these, each of the rounding plans for the things that were drawn up. If you send me your email, or give me your email, I'll give you the contact name of the person.
Thank
It's
you.
all about safety from her point of view. Safety comes first before anything else.
Our concern is that Waka Kotahi are going to put out for submissions soon, I believe, 17th of May, for speed reductions in front of schools, and I think it will be fobbed off with that, rather than something proactive to stop speeding. Reducing a limit isn't good. They're not listening to it now. They're not going to suddenly, oh, it's 30 now, let's go even slower.
I do appreciate it.
To wrap you up. Thank you
Okay,
very much.
thank you for our time. Sorry, I'll take those and.
I'll work it back, so,
Who's online? Quentin, can you hear me? Quentin? Yep. Okay, you're on.
Can you hear me?
Yep, away you go.
Oh, kia ora tātou. I think our application is pretty straightforward. We're asking for a contribution to the costs of opening our marae okorihi on Matariki Day, June 25th next month. Just to summarise the history, in 2003 our marae burned down completely. I took up the position as the chair of the marae about 8 years ago. We've been incredibly fortunate to have been supported significantly by the government Oranga Marae Fund over the last 6 years, which has allowed us to rebuild the whare kai and most recently the whare tupuna, which has only just been completed, which will be a total cost of close to $4 million. And although we're extremely grateful for that and count our blessings, we are a marae. We have, I think, to date about $10,000 in cash reserves, which we're trying to guard jealously to give us every possible chance of getting up and running over the next couple of years. So we're just going through the process of applying to suitable organisations we have relationships with, want to create and continue relationships with into the future to help support the opening of the marae. I think this is going to be a very significant facility for Kaikohe and its surrounds in the future. And the reason for that is, first of all, it's got all the bells and whistles of the modern world. It's a new facility. It's completely set up. We've already had a lot of interest as a potential facility. I think of an example like Te Kona here in Kaikohe, which was, I believe, funded by the PGF fund. That's been in huge demand since it opened. In a similar way, although this doesn't have little offices, it's going to be a marae centre with the beautiful backdrop of Puhanga Tohora. I think we're in a very fortunate position because of the proximity to Kaikohe, where we're going to get a lot of interest. So I think this is a marae that is going to be financially viable going forward. And in addition to that, I think if you look around at a lot of the marae in Te Tai-Tokerau, to be honest, most of the marae in Te Tai-Tokerau are either in a state of disrepair, they're in a state of disrepair, or in many cases they have dysfunctional governance. It's very hard to run a marae these days with the shortage of skills and the voluntary nature of a marae. So I think there's going to be a lot of call for our marae to support Kaikohe and surrounds for those reasons. And we've already had a huge response. I run a Facebook page called Māori Minute that focuses on revitalising the Ngāpuhi language. I have about 54,000 followers on that Facebook page, so I have a good idea of how much impact something is having on the wider community. And I put a photo up the other night just alerting people to the opening next month, and that's reached about 40,000 people, and we've had 2,000, close to 2,000 likes so far in a couple of days. So there will be very few, I think, marae fully rebuilt and opened in Ngāpuhi in my lifetime. So it's a significant event for all of these reasons. So we're looking for a contribution. To be honest, we're in the state of mind at the moment where we're counting our blessings for everything that we've already received. So any contribution will be welcome. There's probably a lot more to say, but I think those are the relevant things, and happy to take any questions. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Right, anyone got any questions for Quinton?
No,
Looks like your kōrero was well received here, Quinton. We don't get and well and full because we don't have any questions for you. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you, and
thank you very much.
We'll consider your request shortly.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Thank you. Right, Linda.
I'll come over this side so you can all see. Move the chair out of the way. Just being brief update, so thank you for the time I've got here. Probably one of the projects that Kaikohe Business Association is working on at the moment is in response, or even prior to the event that occurred in town a few months ago, looking at the way that we can make Kaikohe a safer place. So we have been successful in getting a grant from the police. We've got a 60k grant to look at our CCTV coverage, and I know Kaikohe has been successful in getting 30k themselves. What we're planning to do is to run an event where, as the subcommittee are working on the right places for placement of the CCTV cameras, working with the local police as well as the community to get those right spots, not only targeting the main business area but going a little further, because we want to have a safe community, so having the accesses in and out. 30,000 of that K is tagged to go towards Lindsay Park Sports for Development. So that will be progressing as that particular project works ahead. The event that we're trying to pull together within the next 2 months, maybe sometime in July, is to host a workshop outlining how far we've gone with CCTV coverage. We're also trying to tie it in with the incredible progress that's been made at the Innovation Park, and maybe looking at, can we do a little bit of adding a bit of a character here, promote that area as well and give some footage. Again, if things had gone to plan, you would have had 200 people employed in the garden centre there. At the moment we're at 25, so it's looking promising for some other arrangements that are happening, going through discussion. So they've got strawberries planted there now, and you're looking at various contracts throughout New Zealand to bring in the other areas. So exciting things happening. When I get a bit more information, I'd like to feedback with you. One of our main concerns as well is it's okay having cameras, but we also need to ensure we've got good lighting within the town. So I think we're talking with John at the moment about avenues to fund improvement in lighting. Thank you very much. Any questions? Great.
Apparently your kōrero was full as well.
Thank you.
Appreciate that update.
Cheryl, welcome. Now you're also here for the Rural Travel Fund as well?
Yes.
Fantastic. We'll do both together.
Oh, okay.
So that you can be on your way.
Okay,
Unless you wish to spend the day with us.
Oh, no, I'm sure you won't want to have me in front of you all day. But firstly, morning, lovely to see you all. It's been a long time. Just our application for Kaikohe-Hokianga and Sports Club. The why we've applied for architect work is we are now getting a lot of offers for hireage from the community, as we're the only facility in Kaikohe now that can host for community events. So as a committee, we've decided it is now time just to make the club look nicer and appealing. Like, it's a sports club, but now we're getting a lot more community groups. We've already had the Indian community utilise the club every month, but we're getting weddings, birthdays, christenings, and just other gatherings. People are wanting to use the facility. So for us as a committee, we're wanting just to give it a uplift, because it's over 100 years old, which hasn't been touched. As I've been a part of the committee, we've focused on getting the facilities ready for sport, so new lighting, changing sheds. So we've got that now done. Now we're wanting to work on the buildings itself. So hence why we're asking for the amount for the architect fees.
Any questions?
Any questions?
What about the council fees?
What council fees?
11,000 for a building consent, 4,000 for a resource consent.
Correct.
found
You
that-
can answer that question for me.
I found that absolutely unbelievable. Incredible. And why did you go to Auckland for an architect?
Because they actually done Omanaya Marae.
Oh.
They done a rebuild of Omanaya, and one of our committee members were on that Marae trust and said they were very, very good. And it was in the middle of COVID, and we actually tried looking for someone locally, but they were all busy, and we sort of want to try and get moving on this
I
sort
thought
of.
their charges were reasonable, because the council charges I thought were outrageous.
And they're willing, they actually are below what they normally charge, so they are helping us in that way as well, Laurie. Yes.
If you only get half of what you're asking for, how are you going to find the other half?
We'll most probably go to other funders and try and get the money, but we're hoping we could try and get as close as we can, because we see that this is it's going to be for the community. It's not just for sport, and it's going to be a community facility at the end of the day, because we're the only one in town who can use it.
So how are you going to fund the construction? I mean, this is just a picture, right?
Yeah. So from that,
You're not
we've
gonna
already
come back
been speaking with Lotteries and Foundation North at looking at after the architect has done the plans, we've already got in line local builders to quote us as well. So that's the part, all the work is going to be done locally, and also from our members, we've got builders, plumbers, and just manpower, what will save a bit of costing in the build as well. If that answers your question, Kevin and Mike.
Mr. Chairman, I just can't find it at the moment, but one of the applications for that, the fund, for travel fund, was quite expensive compared with all the others. You know, there's around about $1,000.
Laurie, we'll deal with travel fund next. So this is the rugby fund.
Okay.
Sure, we'll close up.
I just thought while Cheryl was here.
We are. We're going to close it down and start off again. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Anybody else about the funding application with the rugby club? Okay, cool. And what's happening with the teams this year? Just quickly.
Very good. Got senior men's, women's. Our juniors started last week. Thank goodness the mandates were dropped, so the club is back alive. So we have got 7s, 8s, 13s, 14s, 16s, boys and girls. So it's very busy down there. So we're doing well, and we had a great Friday night game, last local derby of Hawaii Kaikohe. So the lights on Central have been utilised really well. So in the 2 games that we've had under lights, the first game, there were about 500 people that attended that game, and the local derby on Friday would have been about 400 people on a Friday night.
So, Mr. Chair, if you're asking that question, you could ask what's happening with New Zealand women's rugby?
Go on, ask her. She's only had a few minutes, so you can.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to be getting into, in what way? There's a lot been happening in the circle. We've got the World Cup here in October, and in June next month, there's a 4-pack series where the Black Ferns will be playing USA in Whangarei.
With the overflow matches in Kaikohe.
Yeah, good.
Yes, well, talking about that, we might need to, if we get our facility upgraded, that's the tick, Mr. Chair, is that our facility isn't up to standard to host an international team.
Should have mentioned that before, that's a brilliant.
So thank you for that. But that is the truth. Our clubhouse isn't up to standard to host international teams.
Would that help the one?
I didn't want to add that, you know.
Right,
Thank you,
okay.
Mr.
No more questions? Or-
Council of Usage.
Okay, so we'll close that down. And would you like to start up again with your next
Okay,
item, which is your
the Rural Travel Fund.
travel fund?
I was going to go and get changed out of here, so I didn't want to look like I'm, but firstly, a conflict of interest with Kaikohe Rugby, and Kim would like to address the board as well.
Okay, so why don't we deal with the confirmation of minutes? And you could give, how much time do you need to go away and?
I was just going to go out the door, put on another shirt and come back in again. Well, it's just as it's online, Mr. Chair, I just don't want to be seen to be.
That's cool. Okay.
I just want to try and stay.
So what we'll do is we will confirm our minutes. Away you go. We'll take Kim's presentation. By the stage we'll be back to do the rest of it.
Oh no, we're together actually.
Okay, we'll carry on with other stuff until you get back. How's that?
I'll be 2 steps.
Okay, right. Let's get on to our thing. Right. Apologies. We've got apologies from Emma. We've got apologies from. I think your apologies for early leaving. Is
Yeah, this is very, very soon.
Okay, that's cool. Anybody else? Early today? So.
No. sorry, I just thought about that. I'll be here for the meeting, but maybe not our workshop after.
That's okay,
So,
right.
Can we make a note, as a former member of this esteemed body here, Sean is actually, maybe we can just pass on our condolences to our current member here, to Sean.
If you mow that piece of grass that he's been complaining about, I think he'll be happy.
Is that what caused the fracture in his leg?
Probably, he tripped over the long grass that council doesn't look.
Okay, so I'll move that we accept the 2 apologies. Yep. Okay, all those in favour? Okay, right. Confirmation of previous minutes. Are there any changes or any corrections to be had from the minutes?
Nope. Not from me.
Anybody else? Okay, all those in favour that the minutes presented here are a true great record of our last meeting? Aye. Anybody against? Carried. Right. So why don't we go to your Kaikohe Community Plan Review then, while we've got Lindy and Lou here.
I'm happy to move.
Okay, so we're going to move in Moko, we'll go for a seconder and John. Okay, so would you like to talk to it, Moko?
Oh, just that I'm always extremely supportive of our communities and these awesome plans that they bring to us, so that we don't have to do any of the hard work, and honestly, the way that it should work is that our communities come up with their plans. Like we've had awesome community plans come through to us as a community board, and that council, and other stakeholders action the plans and aspirations of our community. So I'd like to thank the entire community for this plan that they presented for us. And for highlighting, their main ones that they'd like to see done first is very helpful.
John.
Yeah, like Moko, I actually agree. It's a great plan. Thank you for your presentation there from the Kaikohe. I also want to take the same frustration that you have. I'm sure there's some excellent staff that are putting all the time into these plans and getting the same frustration. Certainly what I sort of described before, I'd love to see happen, Mr. Chair. So I really vote to support this plan and actually push to have it formally structured so that it goes through the long-term plan. And communication comes back to the community as well.
Excellent, thank you.
And that becomes part of the KPI on the CEO. He's recorded, and he may in fact be watching. That's certainly the vision I'd like to see happening. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yes,
Kelly.
why don't we donate 2 of the speed humps from Tauranga Road to a kaikohe? I vote for that.
Thank you for raise this now, well, actually, other members, because you and I are going through the ET raise this in the workshop this afternoon.
Yeah, that was I was going to raise that as well in the workshop this afternoon.
Good. Well, I just wanted you to know that that's what I think you should do.
We got to move it as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, any other comments? Okay, thank you. All those in favour? Aye. Anybody against? Carried. Okay, thank you. Right. Cheryl, let's get back to you.
Yes. Always keeping it professional, you see. Trouble when you're in too many hats in one community. And just, if I can quickly, Mr. Chair, before we go to Rural Travel Fund, just with our application as well.
So you want
Mr. Busage, Councillor Busage brought up a good point. Part of the architectural plans are for the changing sheds as well for women's showers. So that was part of to get, if we did want women's games to be brought to Kaikohe, we had to have separate shower facilities for the ladies. So that's what's in part of the architect, as well as the club and the changing sheds, just to let you know.
How do you manage girls and guys rugby on the same day now?
Right now? Yeah. Well, the girls play first, and then the boys are playing the girls' shower. And then by the time the girls are finished, the boys are finished playing. Okay. But the way we're looking at it, if we can have 2 sets of showers, the boys and girls can be in the sheds at the same time.
Yeah. Especially since you got...
And even young girls as well, who play on Saturday in mixed teams, there's not a separation for our girls to shower. So that's why we're really pushing to have a separate female showering.
And what do you see the future of women's rugby in Kaikohe? Or let's say in the Far North? How do you see it working? How do you see it going?
Very well, to be honest. Like the increase of girls wanting to play rugby at the moment in schools. I think it was like 20%. Now they're saying it's like 70% of girls. A lot of girls have stopped playing netball just to play rugby.
Seriously?
So it's not. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
And it's just the pathways now for the girls. Like now, as a super player, you get paid. So if you make
Viable career pathway.
yeah, it is the career pathway. Like you can go Cody, super, and you're getting paid 30,000 as a 18-year-old. Then you make the Black Ferns, you could get 60, 70. Only if I was 15 years younger. But my role is to make a facility so our girls can stay and be able to play in front of our whānau, really.
I'm sure you got the decimal point in the wrong place. So the Black Ferns get 600,000, you said?
No, 60.
Oh, that's what okay, yeah. Yes. And what did All Blacks get?
Well, put another 0 in front of that. But hey, that's a starting point, you know. When I was playing, I got 0.00, so they're very lucky if you ask me.
Okay.
Yeah, so sorry to talk about that.
No, that's okay. Right.
So Rural Travel Fund.
And why don't we
just want to go straight to questions.
No, let's go straight to questions. We won't bother. We'll talk about I'll take the motion after this. How's that? So away you go.
And that
We've
includes
just got
this
another-
one as well, does it?
Yeah, we've got another one here, so which takes it to, I think we've all got that. Was there one each?
Oh, we need to.
Applications are, but not that, that was just handed.
Okay, so with the extra application, the total comes to 18,489.67.
We've got 17.
So through the chair, you have $18,489.67 to allocate.
Great, because of the money we put aside once.
That's correct.
Okay, are there any, so does everyone understand what just happened there? So a year ago, we had some money left over from our community grant, and we said, I think at the same meeting, we had complained that there wasn't enough money for community grant, for a travel fund, so we just transferred it all across. So that's why we've got that amount. Are there any other questions about this to
What was
Cheryl?
that number again we've got?
18,489.67.
And what was the total application plus the
18,489.67, was it?
The total amount requested, I'm not too sure off the top of my head.
It was
Not everybody
It
can.
would have been your original plus 3,377,
around 20.
21,000.
Yeah, I had a question. Like a lot of the smaller groups like rowing and things like that, they contribute a lot more to their own travel than sort of some of the bigger clubs like Kaikohe, rugby club or whatever. Why are the big clubs not raising as much money to or contributing as much of their own costs as the smaller groups are?
Well, I can
I could
speak to,
speak to that from a Kokubuku Māori or Kaikohe point of view, and being there. At schools, we get operational grants through ministry that top up, whereas the likes of Kaikohe Rugby Football and Sports Club don't get the same operational funding from a main backer.
That's basically it, is it?
yeah,
It's
basically.
not community fundraising or things like that.
Oh, yeah, like we do fundraising, but we, what we do at the rugby club, we get all our kids get fully uniformed, and we have to pay, like, what we get here, the club still tops up. Like, it ends up sometimes a kid getting $10 for the whole season through Rural Travel Fund. Louis, like, yes, it does look a lot that the rugby club is getting more than the smaller groups, but the big picture is
How many members you got?
300.
That was just one example, because I went through and checked, what clubs were contributing and which ones they weren't. And I found that Hokianga ones were contributing a lot more towards their costs.
Yep.
And they've got further travel and all that sort of stuff as well.
Mm.
So yeah, that's why I asked that question.
And we're really lucky that we've got 3 new clubs who actually applied this year. So I'd just like to thank the board, what you were saying, Mr. Chair, about putting that extra money forward, because if we never had that extra money, there's no way, how could we give what we're giving each club this year for Rural Travel Fund. So thank you very much for putting that money.
Or maybe it's something, Kim, you can bring up at our next meeting for the remainder of some money, because I think we're all happy about this. So Cheryl, just remind us how you manage your conflict of interest over this one.
Oh, did I say that at the beginning? Sorry?
No, you said there was a conflict. I just want to know how you manage it. Because as Louis points out, we know how big Kaikohe is, but it is also the amount of money. So I just want to know that you've got the conflict of interest covered off by, is it working with Kim or something, is it?
Oh, yes, sorry.
So through the chair, Cheryl and I work together on coming up with the amounts, but Cheryl doesn't get to comment on Kaikohe Rugby Sports Club.
Okay.
It kind of falls in my hands to be like, you can have this.
Okay, she's not buying you lunch or anything afterwards?
No.
Don't put ideas in there.
It was good last week.
No, that's okay. No, we just need to be satisfied. That's all.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I always make sure that I always declare that, and even in this forum, I know that you all know that I'm there, but I always like to make sure it is publicly spoken that I've got conflict of interest.
Right, Malcolm?
So we don't have, for the total amount of funding applications, we are going to fall short. Are we able to fill that shortfall with our own reserves, rather than giving clubs less?
So what is that amount that he's talking about?
So through the chair, you would be short just over $2,000. I'll just grab my name.
And that $2,000 would go to whom?
So that would top up Kaikohe Rugby Football Club to 3,300.
Oh, so these are the numbers here, are they?
Yeah, so these are my new allocations based on Rawani School's application fees.
Oh, okay, I got you. Okay, yeah. You want to make a motion to that effect, Moko?
Yeah, rather than chopping people.
Oh, well, actually, we haven't made a motion yet, so when the time comes around to motion, you want to make that, or if you want to make it now?
So if I just move it and include my...
Okay, so okay, so basically, your motion will be...
Here's what I'm sitting here there.
Okay, so your motion will be the numbers in the agenda.
Numbers in the agenda.
Plus
Rawani School.
So it would be around about $3,337 that you'd be taking from your community fund for the Rawani application.
Does that mean all the clubs are getting 100% of what they asked for?
I thought Rawani's only asking for 2.
No, that was the divvy up.
Oh, they're asking for 2.
Rawani's all asking
And
for 2.
they are contributing 13,177.
2,000.
So no, you are correct. No, so they are requesting $1,377. Sorry, we've changed the application and I'm still not quite using it. They are, what was it? Yeah, so it is the $2,000. So you would need to take $2,000 from your community fund account and stick with the original recommendations in my report.
The way I look at it, basically, my motion to use the extra $2,000 is based off the fact that I know that we're near the end of the financial calendar, that we happen to have a lot of money available. And that I don't look at it as being full Rawani School when they're 90 kids or whatever.
Okay, so as I
spread it across all of them, that's thousands of our local residents who are going to be involved in the winter sports, just for the cost of $2,000 extra.
Point, order.
Yeah. Come on, Mr. Chair.
Okay, you've had your movers first move. So Moko moves that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board allocates the rural travel grant funding in accordance with the recommendation received from Sport Northland as follows, and as it's mentioned in the agenda as printed, plus $2,000 plus $2,000 for the Rawani School, making a total of 19,678. Is that right? With the extra 2,000 to be allocated from the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board's Community Grant Fund.
I love how you think I am able
I'll
to
second that.
You should make it up to go on. Do I have a second?
Yeah.
Okay, it's basically $2,000 for Rawani School. The sum is 19,000, and the extra 2,000. Right, you've said your piece, Moko. Anybody else wish to talk? Anybody else has questions of two ladies?
I'd just like to say thank you, Mr. Chairman, because it's not easy rationing it out. I had a question, and I see you've relocated from 5,900 down to 1,800, so I thought that was pretty good. It was a John Key initiative. I'm not politicking, by the way. I voted that New Zealand first last election. I'm saying so. But it was a John Key initiative in the first place that our country areas, our kids shouldn't be disadvantaged. And it's great to see what you do, Cheryl, amongst our community, getting our kids to sport. Because kids in sport don't get into trouble. It's been proven many, many times over. So to me, it's money well spent. Thanks, Moko, for what you've moved on.
Cool, and look, I agree, Moko, and I this feels so much more comfortable than the heartaches we have to go through or have gone through the last 6 years. When we get a third or a quarter of this money to allocate to put the community grant or something, this is a fantastic use of money. So Kim, if you can bring next month a report saying do it again, then I'm sure we will be suitably disposed to do so. So if there's not any other, do you want to write a reply there, Michael? No, okay, all those in favour? Aye. Anybody against? Carried. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay, right. We've got work on this. Okay, so we've got the funding applications to do. Can I have an indication of whether anybody's going to move for a public exclusion for the usual reasons?
Yes, how quickly
Okay.
are we going to do this?
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll do the funding applications, we'll break into public exclusion. We've got another application or another piece of business to do in public exclusion. And by that stage we will go. So can I have a motion with blanks for the funding applications, please?
A motion moving them
with blanks, I think, is probably the best way. That's what we normally
and
do.
then we'll move into public excluded.
Yeah, then we'll discuss them and then we'll come out and we'll fill in the blanks.
Yep.
Everybody happy with that? So all of the numbers except for, well, how do you want to do it? Who's going to move?
I'll move.
Okay, so Morkel moves the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board, uplifts the application Boyd Valley Community Trust, approves the sum of blank to them. C approves the sum of blank to the Kaikohe Rugby Football and Sports Club. D approves the sum of blank to the Kōrehi Marae Charitable Trust. And E approves the sum of blank to be paid to Freedom Whare Limited. And I think, is everybody happy that we leave F and G? Does anybody wish to discuss anything in F and G in public exclusion? Or we can leave those for later?
Can leave those.
Okay, so we're just going to be putting A, B, C, and D on the board. Do I have a seconder?
Yep.
Okay, and do I have a mover to move into public exclusion?
I'd like to move into public exclusion.
For the purposes of
free and frank discussion.
Did you put E in there as well?
Sorry?
E is not in there.
E is not in there.
E is in there. A through E.
A, yeah, you said A to D, that's why.
Oh, sorry, A3, sorry, yeah.
Can I have a second?
Yeah, we had a second, didn't we? Yeah. John. Okay, that was for the public exclusion. Okay, all those in favour of the public exclusion?
Aye.
Anybody against? Carried? Okay, right, we'll stop the things and we'll have a minute. Okay, right, let's get back to the motion on page 81. We've got 4 or 5 items there with blanks that we'll just go quickly through and we'll vote on them. We'll do it in parts. Okay, so the first part is the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board uplifts the application for Weka Weka Valley Community Trust from the meeting on 6th of April for consideration. All those in favour?
Aye.
Anybody against? Carried. Okay, the next one had the sum was blank, and that was for Weka Weka. So we'll just go quickly around the room. I know we've already had this discussion, but it is a decision to be made. So from your end, Moko? This is B for Weka Weka.
The original sum.
Okay, Louis?
Yep.
Alan?
Yep.
John? And Laurie? Okay.
I agree, but who does the monitoring of this? Who actually makes sure that they follow?
Kim.
You do? Good lady. Oh.
Okay, so the motion becomes approve the sum of 2144 plus GST if applicable to be paid from the board's community fund account to Weka Weka Valley Community Trust for shelving, paint, old wine, bar stools to the Waimamauka Renewal Centre to support the community outcomes of proud, vibrant communities and communities that are healthy, safe and connected and sustainable. All those in favour? Okay, carried. Okay, the next one. I'll share the meeting with this one. I put a number in though. Okay, so this is Kaikohe Rugby. Moko?
20,000.
Louis?
Yeah, 20,000.
Alan?
20,000.
John?
20.
Laurie?
Yeah.
Okay, number becomes 20. Approves the sum of $20,000 plus GST applicable to be paid from the board's community fund account to Kaikohe Rugby Football and Sports Club for architectural fees to support the following community outcomes, which are health, safe and connected sustainable communities. All those in favour? Anybody against? Carried. D, this is the Okorehi Marae Charitable Trust. So we'll start with the number there from you, Moko.
15,000.
Sorry?
15,000.
I'll go for the 10.
Alan?
15.
I'll go 10.
10.
Sorry?
10.
And you?
I'll say 15. It's in my area.
Okay, right. How does this work?
It's equal.
No, that's okay. It's equal. Okay, so here's how it has got to work. So if we then extend the process to actually doing votes, and then what we can do is we can.
We'll split it like a 12-5.
Yep.
Well, I guess you've got to ask the people who are doing 10 whether it's 12-5 or. Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy to go to 12.5.
You are? Okay, well then there's 4 at 12.5.
Yeah.
Okay, so approves the sum of 12,500 to be paid from the board's community fund account to Okorehi Marae Charitable Trust for road and car park and landscaping paths for proud, vibrant communities and healthy, safety, connected and sustainable communities. All those in favour? Anybody against? Carried. And finally, from the Freedom Whare, so we'll start with you, Moko.
10.
Louis?
Yeah, I'll go to 10.
Alan?
10.
John?
Oh, very good. 10.
Laurie?
No, I have difficulty with it. I think it's a national sense. So.
What number?
Well, I'm going to lose anyhow, so.
Well, you would like to go 0 and not still win.
I think they should have something to go towards that, but.
You can't say 100,000.
10,000 for a social issue. Carmel Cipollone should be looking after them. Willow G, they should be looking after that.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I would have said 6,100. What would you have said?
I don't know. I think they should have something because she's made a wonderful job.
Keep coming to me first. I'm
setting us up.
Okay.
And they get rent from it as well. So.
Yeah. Kelly's not here, so she doesn't get a vote on this one. So the number is 10. Approves the sum of $10,000 to be paid from the board's community fund account of Freedom Whare Limited for the cost of electrical, roof spouting, CCTV, pest management, and the purchase of fridge and freezers for communities that are healthy, safety, connected, and sustainable. Sorry, all those in favour? Anybody against? Carried. Okay, so do I have a motion for F, please? I'll move that. Okay, I move that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board revokes the carry forward commitments of 14,376.54 for the junior bike park, 19,523 for the basketball court, and 4,724 for the outward bound travel costs. Do I have a second?
Yep.
Anybody, anybody wish to talk about it? All those in favour? Okay, and now I'll, that money, I move that the board approves the 38,624.49 revoked in the previous resolution that was allocated to the junior bike park, basketball court and hoops, and outward bound be allocated to the Memorial Park redevelopment project. Do I have a seconder? Okay, does anybody wish to talk?
Same
Yes,
outcomes.
Yeah, Morkel. Tell us about how wonderful Memorial Park is going to be, and then we'll all vote for it.
Well, this board supported ARCO to do a master plan for Memorial Park here in Kaikohe. This is one of our special projects. We happen to know that we've got carryover funding there, didn't get uplifted, it wasn't needed. That's going to go into the same project and have great outcomes. So this is just transaction ready for us, but I'm really looking forward to seeing this redevelopment come to fruition. So I'm all for this.
Yeah, and what he said. Right, all those in favour? Aye. Anybody against? Carried. Thank you. What's next?
Okay.
Okay, page 131. Go to Mongero. Okay, so I have a motion on this.
I'll move that we receive the report.
Okay. Moved Mokol, second John. Do you wish to talk to it, Mokol?
No, just take it as read.
Okay. John, you were saying?
No, I'm fine.
Louis, your chance.
What happens by receiving this report? We don't get to make any other decision on this at all, do we?
You can amend the motion and make whatever recommendations you choose. But it is in train and it's been passed us before. So by moving any amendments, you go down doing the previous decision of this board.
No, I'll just leave it as it is. Thanks.
Okay. Anybody else? All those in favour?
Aye.
Anybody against? Carried. Okay, page 141. Statement of Community Board Fund Account.
I'll move.
Mukul moves, do I have a seconder?
Yeah, I'll see.
And John seconds. Mukul, do you wish to talk? No, anybody else wish to talk?
Nope.
Okay, Kim?
Kim has just left the building, Mr. Chair.
Elvis has left the building.
I'll ask her to return.
Okay, no, I'm just wondering whether or not we can make a special effort at the next meeting to have an updated report as of tomorrow morning at the next meeting.
So we know exactly how much we've got before the end of the financial year.
Yeah.
Chair?
Yeah.
And sort of options of what to do with it.
We did have our workshop with the chair.
Yeah, hopefully all those things will come in, so.
So when's the deadline for, just to get a Wally putting an application?
Oh, get him put it straight away, he doesn't have much time at all.
The deadline is
Cameron's
passed.
going to work with them.
Yeah, so we're already in the second week of May, and I think it's the first week of June that our next meeting is, so what have you got? You got 3 or 4 days?
Deadline was on the 3rd of May.
The next meeting?
Welcome back, Kim.
I thought it was 12 days.
No, it was the 3rd of the council website. Says it's the 3rd of May.
When is the cut-off?
Our cut-off date for our last meeting's already passed. Is there any way we can still get you and Matua Wally to work on the application to them, or?
Yes, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
for that meeting.
And look, I mean, the worst comes to worst, if anything's late, we'll have a special meeting on the last Wednesday in June or something stupid like that.
And also the board wanted an updated funding report
yes.
on how much was expended today and left over.
Yeah.
Normally it's a month behind.
Yes.
Can we have a special report, please? Thank you.
It will be an up-to-date one for the June meeting, so you know exactly what you've got to work with.
Great stuff, thank you.
Thank you.
Right, all those in favour?
Aye.
Anybody against? Carried. Right. Does anybody wish to make a motion on page 146?
I'll move that we receive the report.
Do I have a second up? Do you want to talk about it, Muckle?
Probably, but I didn't have my meeting flying past last night, so no.
Yeah, just, what is vested asset contribution? It was $74,000 that was in there.
Where is that on?
It's the last line of the capital income. So 74,000.
Here's a guess, okay, based on the words, and only Janice will be able to tell you. But when a developer, this is an example, when a developer makes a road, for example, when they vest it in council, sometimes not only does the road have to come with it, but also some money for future maintenance.
Okay.
That may be it, or it may be.
It is for our basketball court.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, on the next page, there's a little sentence to say.
There we go. So it might actually be the value.
So not a road, but our courts.
There we go. So it may not only be the money, but actually the value of the assets. There we go. Yeah.
Okay, I did see that on the other page.
Cool. Right, anybody else wish to talk?
I think it's, they had budgeted $42,000 to make up for penalties, but we didn't have any penalties. Is that how that reads in our law?
That looks right. That looks
actual zero.
Yep.
But they budgeted 42,000 for penalties. Does that mean that we've been good at paying our rates, or that we haven't paid that 42 they wanted? How does that read?
Somewhere in the report it says they have not collected penalty because of the state of council with COVID and things like that.
I know I was a week late paying my rates, and then I got the bill, and then a week later I got a letter from Janice saying, Mike Edmonds, you're a special chair.
I think they did it to everybody.
Oh, yeah, okay, they did what we did.
Because of the COVID situation.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess that's why there's no penalties, because they remitted more.
So let everybody else know.
I wonder why we didn't get as much operational central government subsidies as they had budgeted.
Well, because with NZTA we didn't get as much because they didn't collect as much in GST and taxes and things like that because of COVID.
Oh,
but some,
I'll take it all as read.
Okay, all those in favour?
Aye.
Anyone against? Carried. All right, finally, the action sheet. I'll move that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board receive the report. Do I have a seconder? Anybody wish to talk about it?
I'm just wondering if we can get updates on various things that are on there.
Which one?
Well, road footpath ones, the wharf ones. You know, there's things there that are in the pipeline, but also is work in progress and things like that.
Well, okay, ask a particular question. Molly will write it down and get an answer for you by next time. So what is that particular question you have? Specifically that she can write down.
Okay, first pressing one is what happened to our $80,000 that has gone missing? And Elizabeth Stacey is supposed to get back to me on that one.
We'll try and find out shortly. Good question, yeah.
That's one. You know, the wharf in Opanoni, the tidal steps. Okay, they say.
What is the question? Just what?
When are we likely to see that work done?
Okay, that's a great question. Yeah, that's the point. Yep.
Freeze Park. Yeah, Freeze Park, which isn't in this, but.
Yeah, what's the question?
What's happening with Freeze Park?
Okay.
When is work going to commence?
Okay, great. Okay, yep.
Freeze Park is there. Yeah, and the footpaths program, we were supposed to get an update on that.
Okay, so what's the question?
When are we likely to see an update with regard to our footpaths maintenance?
Great question.
Sorry?
Great question.
Great question. So.
Okay, thank you. So Marlene will send those away, hopefully an email.
I'll send them to the report writers. It's up to the report writers to provide updates.
Yeah, if they come back, we'll set. Hopefully Marlene can send them to do.
And you the report writer?
The report writers for those particular action items.
It would be good, because they're sitting there, they need to know what's going on.
That's cool. Well, that's what the outstanding reports are for. Okay, any other questions about that? Comments? Okay, all those in favour? Anyone against? Carried. Okay, so that there is just before I close up. Is there anything, Malima, that I've forgotten?
No.
Okay, I'll close the meeting. Close the meeting now. Don't go anywhere. Aisha, can you close down the video and let us know?